Hey there! So you've probably stared at that massive list of Amazon Web Services and just felt completely lost, right? Well, you're not alone. The whole point of this is to cut through all that noise, to turn that crazy alphabet soup of services into a simple, clear map that you can actually use. All right, let's just dive right in.
Yeah, a challenge is, putting it mildly, isn't it? I mean, you've got hundreds of services, every single one with its own weird acronym and purpose. It is so easy to get overwhelmed. And look, that's a totally normal feeling. And it's exactly why we're going to break this all down, piece by piece.
You start right here with us. See, instead of trying to memorize some random A to Z list, which is impossible, by the way, we're going to tackle this thematically. I want you to think of it like we're building a house together. We're going to start with the foundation, the really important stuff, and just work our way up, one logical step at a time.
Okay, first things first. Just like a real house, our digital house needs a piece of land to sit on, right? It has to exist somewhere. So this first part is all about laying that foundation. We're going to build our very own private virtual data center right inside the cloud.
You know, it's so easy to forget this, but the cloud, it isn't some magical thing. It's literally just someone else's computer sitting in a massive physical building. AWS calls these data centers availability zones, or AZs, and then they group a bunch of AZs together into what they call a region. This whole structure, that's the secret sauce to how AWS is so reliable. Because if one data center has a problem, another one in the same region can just pick up the slack. Super important concept.
All right, so we have all this physical infrastructure. Now we need to make a piece of it ours. That's where the VPC, or Virtual Private Cloud, comes in. Think of it exactly like buying your own plot of land. You're fencing off a private, secure section within that huge AWS world. It's your own virtual network, totally isolated from everyone else. Nobody else can get in. And what do you do with your new plot of land? You build a house on it. In the AWS world, that house is an EC2 instance. It's basically a virtual server. This is what gives you the raw computing power, the brains of the operation, to actually run your application. Honestly, EC2 is one of the most fundamental core building blocks you will ever use in AWS.
So you see the logical flow here, right? It all builds on itself. First, you pick your physical location, the region. Then you create your private network inside that region with a VPC. And then you launch your server, your EC2 instance, inside that private network. From the physical world right down to your running application. It's that simple.
All right, our house is built, the server is up and running, but a house is pretty useless without places to put your stuff, right? You need closets, a basement, maybe a big garage. So now we need to talk about where we're going to store all our digital things. Let's talk storage.
Okay, but not all storage is created equal, and this is a really key difference to get. On one side, you've got EBS, Elastic Block Store. The best way to think about this is like it's a hard drive that's attached to one single server. It's part of that one house. But on the other side, you've got EFS, or Elastic File System. This is more like a shared community storage unit that lots of different houses or servers can all access at the same time. Getting this difference is absolutely crucial when you start thinking about building bigger applications.
And then there's S3. This is like the ultimate, infinitely big storage garage. You don't run your server's operating system on S3. Instead, you use it to store objects, basically files. We're talking images, videos, backups, documents, you name it. The amazing thing about S3 is that it's unbelievably durable, and it can scale to pretty much any amount of data you can possibly throw at it. It's a real workhorse.
And hey, here's a super useful tip for you, especially when it comes to saving money. S3 has these different storage tiers. You can set up what's called a lifecycle policy to automatically move your data to cheaper and cheaper tiers as it gets older and you access it less. So for example, files you haven't touched in a year could automatically move to Glacier for long-term archiving. This can literally save you a ton of cash.
Okay, so we've got our house, our server, and we've got places to store our stuff. What's next? Well, we need a street address so people can find us, and we need a really fast way for them to get to our front door. So now we're going to talk about connecting your application to your users no matter where they are in the world. This is where Route 53 comes in. Just think of it as the internet's phone book or address book. When someone types yourwebsite.com into their browser, Route 53 is the thing that looks up that name and translates it into the server's actual numerical IP address that computers understand. It's simple. Without it, nobody would ever find your digital house. Period.
So now people can find your address. But what if they live on the other side of the world? You don't want them to have to wait forever for your website to load.
That is exactly what CloudFront is for. It's a content delivery network, a CDN, and what it does is pretty cool. It makes copies of your website's files, like images and videos, and stores them in edge locations all around the globe. So if a user in Japan visits your site, they get the data from a server near Japan, not from one all the way over in the US. The result? Everything loads way faster for them.
So yeah, think of it like this. Route 53 is the address book that tells people where you live, and CloudFront is the super fast express delivery service that gets your stuff to them instantly. They work together perfectly to give your users a fantastic experience.
All right, our application is built, it's live on the internet, people can get to it, we're done, right? Ha, not quite. The work is never really done. Now we have to do the responsible stuff. We need to install the security system, set the rules for who can come in and out, and, maybe most importantly, make sure the bills don't get crazy. This is all about management and security.
Let's start with CloudWatch. This is your eyes and ears on everything. And listen, if you're a beginner, the very first thing you should do in your AWS account, I'm serious, is set up a billing alarm. Think of it as your digital smoke detector for your wallet. You can set it to email you if your spending goes over, say, $10. That way, you never get one of those nasty surprise bills at the end of the month.
Next up is IAM, Identity and Access Management. This is your master key system. It controls who can do what, and the most important thing to understand about IAM is this. By default, a new user can do absolutely nothing. They have 0 permissions. You have to explicitly give them permission to do every single little thing. This idea is called the principle of least privilege, and it is absolutely fundamental to keeping your account secure.
So if CloudFront is our express delivery guy, then WAF is the tough-looking security guard standing right at the front door. WAF stands for Web Application Firewall, and its job is to inspect all the traffic coming to your site and block the bad stuff, common web attacks, before it can even get close to your server. You often use it right alongside CloudFront at those edge locations, which gives you an awesome first line of defense. And just one more quick tip on managing costs, this time for your servers. AWS has all this spare computing power just sitting around. They sell it off cheap through something called spot instances. What does that mean for you? It means you can get the exact same EC2 server for, get this, up to 90% off the regular price. For jobs that are flexible, that is a massive way to save money.
Okay, let's take a breath and put this all together. We've gone on a pretty cool journey, right? All the way from a physical building somewhere in the world to a secure, fast, globally accessible application. And in the process, we've actually built a mental map, a structure for how all these core services fit together.
This is basically your core AWS toolkit. For your virtual data center, you've got VPC and EC2. For storage, you've got EBS and S3. To connect with your users, you have Route 53 and CloudFront. And to manage and secure the whole thing, you use CloudWatch, IAM, and WAF. That's it. Those are the essential building blocks to get started.
So, we've laid out the blueprints. We've shown how all these pieces logically connect to each other. That big, confusing alphabet soup from the beginning? It's not so scary anymore, is it? Now, it's a toolkit just waiting for you. So the only real question left is, now that you have the blueprints, what are you going to build?